I would like to dedicate this video to my cat Willow, who passed away the day I'm typing this. Her death was very unexpected and sudden, and it broke us all. She made a brief appearance in my Jurassic Park video, and she was the sweetest girl imaginable. I love you, Willow. Rest in peace.
Lower your gun, or I'll blow his damned head off, brother!
We open with a man doing some daily chores in this odd-looking abode. A retro-looking computer beeps at him to enter a code, and then he carries out his daily activities. Then, while injecting a strange serum into his arm, at first, we're as confused as he is, but then he checks what caused it and sees Jack and Locke looking down into the hatch. Seeing how deep the ladder goes down, Jack decides to call it a day, and this makes John curious as to why Jack isn't curious about what's down here. We then get a flashback where we'll presumably get the answer to that question. Jack is in the emergency OR where 2 car crash patients are on the verge of death. Jack makes the decision to save the young girl rather than the older man.
BP stabilizing.
Time of death, 8:15 a.m.
In recovery, she asks if she'll be able to dance at her wedding, and in response, Jack coldly describes how screwed she is, explaining that he's going to perform the operation, but it's extremely likely that she's going to be paralysed from the waist down forever. His dad calls him aside to criticise his bedside manner, saying that even if there's a slim chance of fixing her, he should give her that little bit of hope. But Jack's like, no, facts over feelings, bro. I'm all about the truth. Some might say I'm a man of science. Her husband asks if her vagina will still function, and Jack tells him, well, kinda, but you're gonna have to do all the work. It'll be like banging an attractive potato salad. And so he's like, yeah, no thanks. Jack sees how devoid of hope she has become, but then when she invites him to her wedding, he puts on the hero cape and reignites an ember of hope.
It's okay. I know I'm not gonna be dancing anymore.
I'm gonna fix you.
To unwind after the surgery, we see Jack doing a stadium run, which I find bizarre that people are just allowed to do this. I would have thought stadiums are private property, but I'm not really a sports guy, so I don't know. He rolls his ankle trying to beat this stranger to the top, who comes over to his aid.
I don't fancy your chances of catching up with me tonight, though. I wasn't trying to catch up. Aye, of course you ain't.
This guy's name is Desmond, and keep him in mind because he'll be returning later.
Well, good luck, brother. See you in another life, yeah?
His patient wakes up from the surgery and Jack is in bits explaining that despite his best efforts, he couldn't fix her. But then she's like, wait, if you failed to fix me, how comes I can wiggle my piggies?
Can you feel this?
Yes.
Can you feel this?
Yes.
This.
Yes.
Back on the island, they're still discussing the pros and cons of opening the hatch, with Kate pointing out the quarantine warning printed on the inside of the door. Wait, shouldn't that warning be printed on the outside? Well, let's see if that's cleared up later on. Jack asks Hurley to explain why he was yelling about the numbers being bad. Hurley explains the whole situation, but Jack, being a man of science, overlooks the supernatural elements of his story and focuses on the fact that Hurley was in a psych ward.
I'm not crazy.
I'm not saying you are.
So, what, that's it? That's all?
What do you want me to say?
How about you believe me, man?
Hurley. They're numbers.
John and Kate can't wait to see what this hatch is all about, with Kate going down first as the lighter of the two. Kate reaches the bottom and starts freaking out when it appears someone's down here, and then all of a sudden there's a blast of light.
Kate, are you all right? Kate!
When Jack arrives to see how they're doing, both Kate and John have disappeared. So he too goes down the hatch to see what's down there. And what's down there is, well, it's the same place we saw at the start of the episode, but now we get to see more confusing details. The retro computer sits in this weird crystal maze looking ass room, containing a bunch of other old tech for a purpose unknown. John stops him from pressing any buttons, and he's got a gun held to his head. Jack is like, what the heck? And then a familiar voice enters the room.
Lower your gun, or I'll blow his damned head off, brother!
Yep, of all people he could bump into on this strange island, it's Desmond.
Well, good luck, brother. See you in another life, yeah?
Oh, by the way, before we continue on any further, I forgot to mention that they tracked down Rousseau and Claire got her baby back. We go back to the raft, or what's left of it. Michael and Sawyer are barely holding on, and Jin's nowhere in sight. Michael tirelessly calls out for Walt, which starts to irritate Sawyer.
Nothing you can do.
Look, if he can hear me, he knows that I'm alive, that I'm coming for him, that I'm going to get him back. Walt!
While arguing if the waterlogged gun will still work, a shark starts attacking their raft because of Sawyer's bleeding shoulder.
Well, I guess I know why the shark is hanging around. Your shoulder.
Oh, well, I'll just stop bleeding then.
Yeah, these two are at each other's throats, despite needing each other more than ever. I side with Sawyer here, because he got shot trying to protect Walt, and Michael's forgetting to be grateful here due to his fatherly panic.
They found us because they were looking for us. For what?
Don't you ever say his name again, ever! Now what you gonna do? Splash me?
If we go frame by frame, we can see a logo on the shark's tail. A logo that we later learn belongs to a scientific research organisation called the Dharma Initiative. But more on that later. It's just a fun Easter egg that I had to point out. Sawyer explains that the hostile boats must have come from the island, because that type of vessel wasn't built for the open ocean, and so it stands to reason that Walt was taken back to the island. And as luck would have it, by morning the current took them back to shore. They're somewhat glad to be back on land, but then Jin appears from the forest and repeats the word,
Others!
Down in the hatch, Desmond confuses Jack and Kate as his replacement for whatever it is he does down here. He orders Kate to tie up John, but then John convinces him that Kate's the real threat, as she used to be a criminal, and he only does this so he can sneak her a knife so that she can break herself free. John is very smart. When Kate breaks free, she turns on the light in the pantry and sees a dreamy amount of food, most of it branded with the Dharma Initiative logo. After devouring some fictional chocolate bars and near on splooging her knickers, it bothered me to see her tuck a handful of them into her back pocket, because when she gets them out later, they're all going to be warm and squashed by her arse cheeks. Which I know for most people watching sounds like it would enhance the flavour, but it's kind of gross to imagine that you might be munching down on your own arse essence.
Her sweat and blood went into this cake.
Desmond asks if anyone is sick, which might explain the quarantine sign on the inside of the hatch. Perhaps Desmond was once told to stay inside to not get infected. While John inquires about his work down here, the retro computer starts beeping, and Desmond commands him to enter some numbers. The cursed numbers, no less. Michael gets the flashbacks for this episode, and it shows you his struggles with bitch mummy taking Walt away from him, going as far as to remove all paternal rights away from him. Despite not being able to afford it, he insists on taking her to court. And damn right, you keep fighting the good fight, bro.
I don't want to go to court, Michael. So please, just let him go.
God, I hate bitch mummy. It really sucks seeing him say goodbye to a son who barely knows who he is.
Yeah, your daddy, he loves you very, very much. And I always will.
You're not wanted.
Starting with the flashbacks, we see John attending a group therapy session, and he mocks a woman for complaining about her mother stealing money from her purse. John says, "That's nothing, my dad stole my kidney."
He pretended to love me just long enough to steal my kidney because he had to have a transplant. And then he dropped me back in the world like a piece of trash, just like he did on the day that I was born. You want your damn $30 back? I want my kidney back.
Now, as much as I love John Locke, in this particular case, he's the worst kind of person. Your problems aren't less of a problem because someone else has it worse. Don't ever invalidate someone's experience by comparing it to your own. Your problems aren't relevant to other people, and their problems aren't relevant to you. Pain is pain, betrayal is betrayal. Someone could easily come along and say, oh, your father stole your kidney? You should be so lucky. My father killed my mother before turning the gun on himself, and I had to witness it all. Now, I know he's dealing with trauma, so you can somewhat excuse his lack of social awareness. But please, for all of you watching, do not behave like John is here. After the therapy session, this woman named Helen defends him, and I would be more pissed at her, but listen to her voice.
Oh, hell. You just said everything I've always wanted to say in there. Most of the time, I want to stand up and scream. Get over it, freaks.
Recognise that voice? It's Katie Sagal, who voices Leela in Futurama, and also she plays Gemma in Sons of Anarchy, which makes it impossible to hate her.
I didn't run off. I had plenty of time to finish eating and stroll away while you were kissing Amy. I have to keep a cork in. Once I get all hot and bothered, there's no stopping me.
As we've just learnt her name is Helen, cast your mind back, or forward, to when John is wheelchair bound and having a relationship over the phone with a woman named Helen. Retroactively, it makes this scene much sadder.
John, we've talked about this. I like you, and I've enjoyed talking with you these past few months.
8 months.
I'm not allowed to meet customers.
John struggles maintaining a healthy relationship with Helen, as every night he sneaks out to wait outside his dad's house. Eventually, his dad comes out to confront John, where he tells him that he just wanted a kidney from him, not a relationship. He doesn't see him as a son.
And John, don't come back. You're not wanted.
God damn, what an absolute gut punch. No one deserves this kind of cruelty, except for bitch mummy. Back in the hatch, Kate breaks out of the pantry and hits Desmond, causing him to fire a bullet into his weird computer.
What did you do? We're all gonna die.
Desmond explains that pushing this button saves the world, and if they don't believe him, he's got a film they can watch. Desmond doesn't stick around to watch this film though, he's getting out of here before things go tits up. Although I don't see the point in running if the whole world's about to end. Jack chases him down, and I love the irony of him not believing that anything will happen when the timer reaches 0, and yet he still insists on asking questions.
Nothing is going to happen. Some man takes you down there, shows you a movie, and you push a button on faith alone. Nothing is going to happen!
Like, if he doesn't believe that there's any consequence to not pushing this button, he would simply return to the beach and carry on with his doctor duties. But a small part of him does believe, and this is because he remembers Desmond, and him being here on this same island is one coincidence too many.
I know you. I met you.
Stop.
Los Angeles. You're a doctor, right? There was this girl, you were worried, you said you failed her. What happened to her?
It doesn't matter.
How can you say it doesn't?
I married her!
The film they watch doesn't reveal much other than this program being run by the Dharma Initiative, a scientific research centre that studies the unique qualities of this island, and we learn about the special purpose of this sector called the Swan.
The Dharma Initiative was created in 1970, where scientists and freethinkers from around the globe could pursue research in meteorology, psychology. Not long after the experiments began, however, there was an incident. And since that time, the following protocol has been observed. From the moment the alarm sounds, you will have 4 minutes to enter the code into the microcomputer processor.
So this button is obviously a psychological test, right? There's no way that entering a series of numbers into a computer can stop the world from ending. But ask yourself this. If you were placed in this situation, would you take the risk of letting the timer run out? Even if you felt 99% sure that it's just a test. After all, it's just pressing some buttons, and there's only a 1% chance that you're wrong. Well, luckily, Sayid fixes the computer, and the cursed numbers are ready to be entered. Jack is determined to take the risk, and John tests his commitment to being right.
You have to do it. You want to push the button? You do it yourself.
If it's not real, then what are you doing here, Jack? Why did you come back? Why do you find it so hard to believe?
Why do you find it so easy?
It's never been easy!
It's a leap of faith, Jack.
Michael, Jin and Sawyer have been chucked into a pit, with no one willing to tell them what's going on. And then later on, an unknown woman gets rolled down there too. Her name is Lucia, and she claims to be their prisoner, but actually it turns out she was there to get Sawyer's gun. I am not sure if it's the character Lucia or the actor Michelle Rodriguez, but she has a certain way of calling out in this show, and I can never understand what she's saying.
Coming out! Coming out!
Is she saying "coming out" or "cut me out" or "calm me out"? Kamehameha. Now, I say this fully aware that the way I speak is hard to understand sometimes. I do mumble and slur my lines sometimes, so as much as I take the piss out of Lucia, feel free to take the piss out of me.
Have a cluckety-cluck-cluck day, Hugo.
Hugo is going snack loco, demolishing the pantry of food. But then things take a weird turn.
Dude, you speak English. No. You're speaking Korean. Nah. 저 친구 여기서 뭐 하는 거야? Have a cluckety-cluck-cluck day, Hugo.
So yeah, it was all a dream. But at least we got to hear Daniel Day Kim say "have a cluckety-cluck day." As you can tell from the title, we've got more Hugo flashbacks. We see that he chooses to conceal his lottery win, scared about how it's going to change his life. He works at a fried chicken place called Mr. Clucks, alongside his best friend Johnny, played by that one dorky looking guy from Road Trip.
No, these are her underwear. She gave them to me.
Oh, dude! Oh!
I boinked her!
Hugo's in trouble for stealing a bucket of chicken, but then he realises that he doesn't need to be held accountable because he's a rich guy now. Johnny quits too for absolutely no reason, and the two hang out for the day in a record shop before causing some antics at night, getting their own back on the awful boss who dared to question his loss of inventory. Hugo asks Johnny to promise that things will never change, and he says, yeah, okay then. But then a news crew spots Hugo, and they identify him as the mysterious lottery winner. I won't play the audio yet because it coincides with Hugo's story in present day. He's been given the responsibility of keeping the contents of the hatch a secret, including all this yummy food. So when Charlie asks him what's down there and he reacts all shady, Charlie gets pissy at him.
You gonna lie to me? You gonna lie to the baby?
Hugo tells Rose about the hatch to help out with the laundry, knowing that he can give her some boxes of detergent. Then later on, he tells her his concerns about being the one in charge of the food, saying that everyone's going to hate him for keeping the food a secret. And this is where the audio coincides with the flashback.
And I'm gonna be in the middle of it. And then it's gonna be, what about us? Well, why didn't I get any potato chips? Then they'll get really mad and start asking, why does Hugo have everything? Why should he get to decide? Then they'll all hate me.
Rose gives him a reassuring look to say the best way forward is to be the nice guy that's in your nature and give out the food to spread happiness. Finally, the pit pals are let out by this guy, who we later find out is called Echo, or as he's frequently called, Mr. Echo. Keep your eye on this guy because he becomes a fantastic character. They lead the pit pals to their safe house, and among the people staying in here is a guy called Bernard, who happens to be looking for his wife.
Is there a woman named Rose there?
Black chick in her 50s.
She okay?
She's okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Michael. I'm Bernard.
그동안 고맙습니다.
Sun has lost her wedding ring, and you think that's bad. Remember that time her mother set her up on a blind date with a rich business guy? And even though they get on really well, it turns out he already has a crush on someone, and only agreed to this blind date to please his mother? Alright, stop him with the Family Guy stuff now. Sun's kind of crushed by this moment, but it's for the best, as in the end she bumps into Jin, a magical moment of fate. Jin had a great turning point earlier. He was eager to get a job working in the same hotel that Sun's date owns, but then his boss demanded that he doesn't let poor people into the hotel, even if it's a boy desperate for a piss.
들어가세요. 왼쪽에 있으니까 빨리 쓰고 나세요.
예. 아유, 대단히 감사합니다.
누가 들여보내래? 내가 자네한테 그렇게 시켰나?
꼬마가 너무 급해 보여서
길에서 싸든 무슨 상관이야? 너 같은 놈들 다 그런 거 아니야?
As Jin is a real man, he won't let his boss treat him like dirt.
뭐 하는 거야 이거?
그동안 고마웠습니다.
Anna Lucia says, "Show me where you guys came from." And shortly into their journey, Michael runs off to find Walt. Jin and Mr. Echo chase after him, but he's clearly not going to quit his mission, even with Mr. Echo telling him that the others are very dangerous and won't be found unless they want to be. Jin, being a good friend, reassures Michael that one day he will find Walt.
You find Walt, Michael.
Yeah, Jin's English is coming along nicely. There was a weird moment earlier where Jin and Mr. Echo hid in some bushes and saw the others walking by, one of them being a kid carrying a teddy bear. Ooh, spooky. Sun confesses to Kate that she found the bottle containing the messages that the raft gang were going to send back home, and after digging it out of the sand, Kate spots Sun's wedding ring.
I'm sorry, Shannon. You're on your own.
Sayid is getting romantic with Shannon, and when he goes out to get more condoms, she sees what appears to be Walt. To make a vision creepy, it's a common editing trick to reverse the audio, but when we apply another reverse, we hear Walt saying they're coming and they're close.
They're coming and they're close.
Sayid doesn't believe her because in any normal situation this would be impossible, but the island's gonna island, so this won't be the last time it happens. Flashback time. Shannon's dad is dead, and it's clear that she doesn't have a great relationship with her stepmum, aka Boone's mum.
Would your daughter like to come?
Stepdaughter. Come on, Shannon.
Shannon is asking about the money from her dad's will, but bitch stepmummy says there was no will. I got all his money and I'm not giving any to you because you don't work hard enough.
Why would he do that?
Well, maybe he just wanted you to find your own way. I'm sorry, Shannon. You're on your own.
Anna Lucia's being really harsh to the newcomers, and Michael demands to know why she's so cranky. She explains that since they arrived on the island, the others have been picking them off one by one.
They're smart. And they're animals. And they can be anywhere at any time.
Tensions are high for their journey back to the beach, as Sawyer's bullet wound from the raft incident is getting infected, and they need to find Jack before the infection kills him.
Oh, well, I'll just stop bleeding then.
Mr. Echo insists they go through the jungle, which is a quicker but more dangerous route. And in doing this, one of their group goes missing, putting them on high alert.
Oh, God. Run!
Shannon is still chasing the ghost of Walt, and breaks down, feeling that Sayid will never fully be on her side, a feeling she's predisposed to because of her abandonment issues. But Sayid reassures her that he's here for her.
I know. As soon as we get out of here, you're just gonna leave me.
I will never leave you. I love you.
This time when Ghost Walt appears, they both see him, and Shannon runs ahead to find him, but only finds a stray bullet in her tummy. Anna Lucia has killed Shannon, and I love the expression on each of their faces. What a gripping end to the episode.
What, you talking now?
Quite an interesting idea for an episode, showing how Anna Lucia's group experienced the first 48 days on the island. But I'm not going to spend too much time recapping this one, as ultimately it leads us back to where we are in the story. I do really like how chaotic their version of the crash is. They appear to have more casualties and bodies floating in the water. And we also see that their group had some kids that eventually ended up being kidnapped by the others. Could one of these kids be the one that we saw holding the teddy bear? On the night of the kidnapping, they tried taking Echo, but Echo took their lives instead. And the gang are very confused about these so-called others. They have no possessions and they wear rags. And also, what's their purpose in kidnapping people from the group? Echo takes a vow of silence for the lives he took that night. And psychiatrist Libby tells him that he shouldn't punish himself for defending himself. It turns out one of the survivors, called Goodwin, is actually an other, and Ana Lucia kills him after collecting clues on his strange behaviour. She was a cop in the before times, so she's good at this kind of stuff.
You ran out of the jungle 10 minutes after the crash. You weren't wet. You were never even in the ocean.
Ana Lucia may have a tough exterior, but she's a human like the rest of us. So she does have her moments where she needs to let go and be vulnerable. Not an easy thing to do when you're the leader. Echo ends his vow of silence, seeing that she needs a shoulder to cry on.
What, you talking now?
It's been 40 days.
You've been waiting 40 days to talk.
You waited 40 days to cry.
What good would it be to kill you if we're both already dead?
It's Ana Lucia's turn for story time. She's a cop in therapy after being shot, but the trauma extends beyond suffering a bullet wound. And boy, when we find out what happened, it's some dark stuff. When she's back on patrol, she works alongside Abraham from The Walking Dead.
What are we doing in Westwood?
Thought a change of scenery would be nice. Nice, safe neighborhood for your first day back.
On their very first call out, she loses control of her emotions, jeopardizing her duty as a police officer. Something about this crying baby triggers something in her psyche.
Ana Lucia!
It's all right.
He is down.
Okay.
Holster your weapon. Now.
So yeah, she needs to go back to therapy. But there's no time for that because they just caught the guy who shot her. Good news, right? But she's like, nope, that's not the guy. Even though he just confessed to being the guy.
Why are you doing this?
Because it's not him.
He put 4 bullets into you. Hollow points through your vest. He tried to kill you. You want a list of his priors? You want to put this guy back out on the street?
As you might have guessed, Ana Lucia was lying here, because all she wanted to know was who it was, so that she could deliver justice in her own way.
I know you.
I was pregnant.
Oh, damn. I hope he wasn't pregnant. Hopping back on the island, Sayid gets knocked out for trying to attack Ana Lucia. She is a real mixed bag of emotions right now. Her guilt for killing Shannon conflicting with her drive to protect the group, ultimately triggering her defensive setting of aggression. While they sit around waiting Ana Lucia's orders, Echo picks up Sawyer to take him back, suggesting it to be an act of redemption.
Where's the doctor?
Jack rushes him down into the shower to cool down his fever, and orders Kate to get some stuff he needs.
Bring the alcohol and some gauze patches. Strip that bed, make sure it's got clean sheets on it. Kate.
Yeah, here.
Hi, my name is Dr. Hausenberg. What you just saw is a TV trope that I like to call a Jack always asks twice. Because in this particular show, every time there's a medical emergency, Jack always has to ask twice for something before the person he's asking does it. Here's a compilation to show you what I mean.
Son, pair of scissors in the second drawer of the cart.
Second drawer.
Hurley, grab me that first-class seat from up there. Also, I need that mesh. We need to create some sort of sterile...
Hurley, I swear to God, if you faint.
No, first-class mesh. I'm cool. Get to the beach. Ransack Sawyer's stuff. I want his alcohol. Rubbing, scotch. What are you still doing here?
The alcohol, Kate. You want him to live? Get to the beach, now!
I'm gonna need some water. Shirts, towels, anything that I can use to staunch the bleeding.
Kate, now, please.
Hand me those strips. Just hand me the strips. I need to get this bleeding stopped. Bring the alcohol and some gauze patches. Strip that bed, make sure it's got clean sheets on it. Kate.
Yeah, here.
The intended purpose of this trope is to communicate a sense of panic in the less qualified person, which also demonstrates the power dynamic between Jack and the helper. The problem is when you do this too much, and it starts to become an eye-rolling moment for the audience. Thank you for watching, namaste, and stuff. Anna frees Sayid and says, "Go ahead, kill me, I deserve it." And he's like, "Nah, what's the point? We're both dead inside anyway." On to a less emo moment and more of an emotional moment. The B team meet the A team, with a tearful reunion between Jin and Sun, and even more so for Rose and Bernard.
What did you do?
Okay, let it be known, I like intercourse with women. I'm also married to one, legally declaring that I am a straight man. However, god damn Daniel Day-Kim, that's ridiculous. Please stop making the rest of us look terrible. This episode serves up the love triangle that's been brewing between Kate, Jack and Sawyer. Even though Jack and Kate have the healthier chemistry with each other, and he's clearly the more stable choice, Sawyer is the bad boy that speaks to her outlaw nature. While Jack treats his bullet wound, Sawyer whispers to Jack that he loves Kate. And you can tell this upsets Jack, but he's got to focus on being a good doctor. His feelings then get further complicated when Kate kisses him.
Kate.
As the title implies, we've got more Kate flashbacks. Her drunken stepdad comes home and she helps him into bed. He notices a funny gas-type smell in the air, and she says, "No, it's not gas, don't worry about it." She then goes to her mum and says the nightmare is over. You're free now from the abusive relationship.
What did you do?
Just remember that you were here and you didn't see me, okay?
Catherine, what did you do?
I took care of you, Mom.
What did you do? Catherine!
In the hatch, we get some interaction between my two favourite characters, Locke and Mr. Echo. Mr. Echo and Locke are similar in that they both believe in fate, but Locke's faith is more easily rocked by the events surrounding him, whereas these experiences seem to strengthen Mr. Echo's sight on the path ahead.
Don't mistake coincidence for fate.
After watching the orientation tape, Mr. Echo reveals that he found another tape on the other side of the island, and now they can combine the two to give us more information on what the hell this place is. But unfortunately, it turns out to be just another instruction on using the computer.
Do not attempt to use the computer for anything else other than the entering of the code.
Michael ignores that instruction when someone sends him a message.
Dad?
Look at Mr. Echo. No hesitation.
Love this one. It's a story of Echo. Echo and his brother are playing football when the militia invade their village, demanding that younger brother Yemi shoots an old man. But Echo steps in to do it for him, saving his brother from the trauma.
What's your name, boy?
Echo.
Look at Mr. Echo. No hesitation. A born killer.
Seeing his potential as a killer, they take him in, and over time, he becomes a high-ranking member. Then one day he returns home to visit Yemi, who is now the priest of the village church. And as pleased as he is to see Echo again, he's heard the rumours of what type of man he's become. Echo asks to use their missionary planes to smuggle drugs. And of course, because that's a naughty thing to do, Yemi says no. Echo later comes back with his militia and says, "Okay, new idea. You will make us priests so that we can smuggle the drugs ourselves and leave you out of the picture."
My signature does not make you a priest, Echo. You could never be a priest.
I like how Echo tries to reason with Yemi, saying that they are both sinners now. But Yemi's like, "Yeah, not really though, because you forced me into doing this."
Perhaps we are. But God will forgive me, Echo.
Yemi rushes to their plane, begging them not to go through with it, even calling in the military to halt their operation. Unfortunately, Yemi gets caught in the crossfire, and then the militia boot Echo from the plane as punishment for his brother's actions.
Are you okay, Father?
Back on the island, Claire talks about Charlie being a religious nut who carries around a Virgin Mary statue, and Echo's like, "You will show me."
It's just a statue.
Just a statue. Where's Charlie?
Naturally, Claire's bummed out by this, disappointed to see that Charlie would hold on to this when he's supposed to be a recovering addict. He tries denying that he knew the drugs were in there, and in doing this, he really hurts his chances of Claire trusting him, because that's a silly thing to try and deny. Echo demands that Charlie shows him where the plane is, and on their way, the smoke monster makes an appearance, with Echo standing his ground and fearlessly looking into it. We get a view that shows us the inside of the beast, and it appears to be some sort of projector that flashes a person's life before their eyes. So yeah, that's interesting. When they find the plane, Echo breaks down seeing Yemi's remains. Claire kicks Charlie out of her space, so he packs up his things and ventures off, putting his one and only Virgin Mary statue with his collection of many Virgin Mary statues. What a naughty boy.
Light him up!
Jack wakes up to find John knocked out inside the gun cupboard, and Michael locks them both inside, saying he's going after Walt, and no one's going to stop him.
We can do this together, okay? I'll come with you.
No, I have to do it now. I have to do it alone.
In the previous episode, we saw him talking more with Walt, using the computer again for this unauthorized activity. I love this moment between Sawyer and Kate.
Morning.
Just throw a banana at me.
Couldn't find any rocks.
Kate's here to take Sawyer to the hatch and get his bandages changed, where they discover Jack and Locke locked in the cupboard. Even though Michael specifically told them that he wants to go alone, they all go looking for him. The search carries on until night time, when suddenly they're approached by the mysterious others, who say you've got to go back to your side of the island, or there will be consequences.
This is not your island. This is our island. And the only reason you're living on it is because we let you live on it.
Jack makes the judgment call, saying you guys don't have the numbers to fight.
It's an interesting theory.
Light him up!
Little did our gang know Kate was following them, and the others use her as a hostage, demanding that they surrender their weapons and turn back.
You and me ain't done, Zeke.
I've always wondered what reference he's making here, and it appears to be a reference to the Muppet called Zeke. Classic Sawyer burn. Jack isn't done either, and confides in Lucia about forming an army. The flashback parts of this episode show some of Jack's home life, with his wife, whose name I can't remember. So she's going to be called Crashy.
Hey, Crashy, what are you doing down there?
Jack's work-life balance is causing a rift in the marriage, further complicated when a patient's daughter kisses him. When he admits it to Crashy, she too admits that she's been seeing someone, and so their marriage is over. And the line she walks out on is a good indicator of the strain that his work has on his commitment to a relationship.
You will always need something to fix.
It's Christmas morning in the year 19 blah-de-blah, and Charlie's enjoying his most important present ever, his piano. But it's not really Christmas morning, it's just a dream, which turns into a really horrible one when he thinks the baby's inside the piano.
Aaron? Aaron?
Aaron! Why did I find this part so funny? It's so silly. He's getting jealous that Claire's forming a relationship with John, and he tries to weasel his way back in, but she's like, bro, give me some space. He then has another dream where baby Aaron's floating away from the island, and this part where he sees Claire and his mum as angels is super goofy.
He's in danger. You have to save him. The baby's in danger. You have to save him.
Charlie,
the baby's in terrible danger.
But then it turns good again when he snaps back to reality, with Hugo questioning him on why he took Aaron in the middle of the night.
We're over here!
Is he all right?
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. He's okay, though. I had this dream.
You do feel bad for Charlie because in his mind he was saving Aaron's life. He confides in Echo and tells him about the religious imagery in his dreams. Religious stuff, you say? Well, I'm all about that kind of stuff, says Echo. So I recommend you take these dreams seriously and baptise Aaron. Charlie again tries to warn Claire, but everyone backs away from him for acting crazy. And because he's totally not crazy, he starts a fire to distract everyone so that he can once again take Aaron.
Charlie, stop!
No,
Help! Help!
He tries getting Echo on his side, saying baptism was your idea. But Echo's like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't tell you to kidnap the baby.
Come on, give him to me.
Who the hell are you, John? Aaron's not your responsibility. You're not his father. You're not his family.
Neither are you, Charlie.
I'm sorry. Oh.
Honestly, a John Locke W moment. And in this particular moment, I don't feel bad for Charlie at all. He went way too far here. The next day, Claire comes to Echo and asks to know the meaning behind baptism. And he says, well, today is your lucky day, because I'm running a 2-for-1 offer. I'll baptise you both, so you can be in heaven together. I've said it before, I'm not a religious guy, but there's something uplifting about this moment. Flashback time. Liam missed the birth of his own daughter to get doped up at home. Causing even more problems, Liam is strung out as they shoot an advert for nappies.
You all everybody's. You all everybody's. Acting like it's stupid.
Just when things couldn't get worse, Charlie comes home to find that Liam sold his piano to pay for a plane ticket to rehab.
I'll give you a call when things settle down for me.
For you, what about me? What about my family?
Poor Charlie, but still, don't kidnap babies. Last thing to mention is that Hugo and Libby are forming a romance, and there's a key moment where Hugo asks if he knows her from somewhere. She says, no, I don't think so, but keep this question in mind because it comes up again later.
You were so busy worrying about each other you never even saw me coming, did you?
Sawyer's furious when he sees Jack rummaging through his stash for medication. Jack rightfully says this isn't yours, it belongs to the group. And Sawyer warns him that if he takes from his stash, there will be consequences. And Jack's like, whatever. And so begins Sawyer's long con to get back at Jack, which coincides with his long con in the flashback sequence. Sawyer's pulling the oopsie my money fell out in front of you scam, but she's wise to it and says that she wasn't even a good target because she didn't get any money from her divorce. But instead of turning him in, she asks to be a part of his scams.
Show me what you do. What you really do.
And what do I do?
Show me how to con people, Sawyer.
The first one is where Sawyer's selling jewellery that he quote-unquote stole, and the part she plays is being the first customer, to give these potential marks a case of FOMO.
Thanks.
Hey, wait, hang on, man. I'll buy some of those. Yeah, me too. This is perfect. They love their jewelry.
Taken in by the thrill of being naughty, she proposes they find a target for a long con, but Sawyer says they don't have enough money to pull it off. But then she says, well, actually we do, because I lied about getting no money in the divorce. I got lots of money. But it turns out he knew this the whole time. She was the long con, and he's working for this guy.
Tell me you got her.
Yeah, I got her.
All 600 grand?
all 6.
Things are different about this long con though, because he caught feelings for her, and so he tries to walk away from it. But he's like, sit your ass back down and finish what you started. And so that's what he does, revealing to her that she's the long con and they're being hunted because he wants out, rushing her out the door with her belongings. But of course, this was still part of the long con. In the chaos of the moment, he knew that she wouldn't check her bags and see that he kept all the money aside. Now for the island version of the long con. He somehow knows of Ana Lucia and Jack's plan to form an army, and he needs to create a panic and mistrust within the group. So he recruits Charlie to help, who wants nothing more than to humiliate Locke. Trust me, it'll make sense in a moment. Charlie was assigned to attack Sun and create a panic in the group, making them believe that it was the others who attacked Sun. Sawyer then gives John a heads up to say the mob are coming to take the guns, and Sawyer offers to stay in the hatch while John hides the weapons, with John completely unaware that Charlie was following him. When Jack comes to get the guns, Sawyer gives him a look as if to say, "This is payback, bitch."
Looks like we got ourselves a theft. Who's gonna call the cops?
Where are they?
Don't look at me. I was just pushing a button.
Jack confronts John about where he moved the guns to, and Sawyer comes out to say, "Surprise, bitches, I have the guns now and I was playing you the whole time."
You were so busy worrying about each other, you never even saw me coming, did you? The new sheriff in town, boys. Y'all best get used to it.
A small side note, Hugo tries cheering up Sayid by giving him a radio to fix, and at first he's not into it, but later on he says, "Okay, I fixed it," and they are delighted to hear music playing.
It could be coming from anywhere.
Or any time. Just kidding, dude.
Dude, it's just a tree frog.
We see more of the army action man days of Sayid, and one of the American soldiers we see is played by Juice from Sons of Anarchy.
Your English is good, Abdul. But you're lying.
We also have a couple of character tie-ins here, one of them being Kate's father, who's this guy here, and the other one being this guy here, who appears in a later episode as Desmond's co-worker. Gonna skim through this flashback because not much important happens here. We just see him interrogating his commanding officer by order of the US Army, and when they're done with Sayid's services, they dump him on the side of the road. The main plot of this episode is that Rousseau finds one of the others trapped in her net. Sayid takes him into the hatch for questioning, and he insists that he's not one of these so-called others. He's just a humble guy called Henry who crash-landed in his hot air balloon. Sayid doesn't believe him and locks him inside to do some more interrogating.
Oh boy, here I go.
Interrogating.
Again.
He gets very emotional when asking Henry where he buried his wife, saying if he was honest about losing his wife, he would remember what it felt like.
How deep did you dig the grave? I don't... How deep? How many shovelfuls of earth? I don't remember. You would remember. You would remember how deep. You would remember if you buried the woman you loved. You would remember if it were true.
An excellent scene. Outside, Jack's losing patience with John not telling him the combination, and refuses to let him press the button until he opens the cupboard.
You want to see what's gonna happen? Let's just see what's gonna happen.
Henry gives Sayid the creepiest look, suggesting that he's not who he says he is. There's a fun side plot where Sawyer has a vendetta against the tree frog that's been keeping him awake with this repetitive noise. And when he finds it, Hugo offers to take it far away, but Sawyer has a more horrible idea in mind.
Yeah, that's one idea. Here's another.
Dude. Don't worry. You're just gonna feel a little pinch.
Aaron is sick, and Rousseau says, "Yeah, you don't remember this, but the people who captured you did tell you that he's got a disease." And so we have an episode of chaotic flashbacks showing all the stuff that happened to Claire, with some weird medical procedures and stuff.
Wake up.
She gets Libby to help her meditate, to put her brain in a less defensive state, where she might be able to unlock her memories with some clarity. She remembers Ethan being a doctor, poking her with a large syringe filled with God knows what.
I'm going to give you a shot now, Claire. A little medicine for your baby.
The constant flashbacks in this episode drive me crazy, so I'm just going to cover them all in one go. Claire was doped up to the point where she was complicit with all that was happening. Ethan then showed her the baby room they've set up for her, and we also get to see Zeke, but this time he doesn't have a beard. We learn that his real name is Tom. Ethan tells Claire that she has to go somewhere else because they don't have enough vaccine here for her baby, whatever the baby's being vaccinated for. Then this young girl warns Claire that she needs to escape.
What are you talking about? You're going to die. We're going to cut him out of you.
She turns out to be Rousseau's daughter. There's a nice moment later where Claire tells Rousseau about this girl, knowing that it's most likely her daughter, and empathising with her as a mother.
She helped me. She saved me. Just like you did. She wasn't like the others. She was good.
The interesting part is where in present day, Claire returns to the medical lab and they find it completely deserted. And also they find some costumes and fake beards. Not much else to this episode in my opinion. We see that Henry's still not giving up any more information, and Echo insists on seeing him to apologise for killing two of the others, saying that he needed to confess to someone, so it might as well be him. Okay then.
I love you.
Sun and Jin are trying for a baby. It's a very hot under the collar moment. I'm fighting the urge to type out an erotic fanfiction. But then I remembered I'm not a bored housewife called Kimberly. It appears there's a problem in the baby making factory, and they're not too sure what the problem is. Is it the milk injector spitting out soy milk rather than nut milk? Or have the eggs become rotten or scrambled? They go to a mechanic who specialises in human baby making, called a fertility doctor, who concludes that it's all Sun's fault.
초음파 검사 결과 부인의 나팔관은 그 조직 상처로 인해 가지고 다 막혀 있습니다. 그래서 수술을 하더라도 임신 가능성은 불가능합니다.
Later on, it turns out that he only said that because he knew that Jin would burn down his clinic for daring to suggest that his PP is defective. Sun is still seeing the handsome hotel man, but strictly on a friend level as he's helping her learn English.
그냥 아이스티 주세요.
In English?
I would like an iced tea. Please.
It's always funny hearing actors who are fluent in a language acting as if they can't speak it.
Oh, I can't think.
I'm
exhausted now.
So yeah, baby making for this couple is impossible. But this island doesn't do impossible. Sun has a baby in her belly.
But it's impossible.
Oh no, it's possible.
She's hesitant to tell Jin, feeling that it's impossible, and doesn't want to get his hopes up. But in the end, she has to tell him because other people already know. Jin's always the last one to find out about things. Before we move on, I've got to show you this lovely moment.
I love you.
On to the John and Jack stuff. They're still holding Henry prisoner, unsure of what to do with him, and they're working together to figure out a plan. John loops in Anna Lucia to interrogate Henry, hoping that her police skills would come in handy, and it turns out they did. Henry drew a map to where the hot air balloon crashed. Some of the gang go to the spot, but they can't see the balloon. Meanwhile, Henry's been let out the cell to enjoy some cereal, and he hears a theoretical scenario of what would happen if he was one of the others.
There'd be no balloon, so I'd draw a map to a real secluded place, like a cave or some underbrush. Good place for a trap. I guess it's a good thing I'm not one of them, huh?
Oh boy, this is an interesting one. Pre-Island John Locke is prepping a picnic, where he's going to propose to Helen. But once again, his father ruins a nice moment by dying. At the funeral, Helen's doing a great job at supporting him, with all these mixed emotions, and throws in some humour to let him know that it's okay not to feel bad about him dying. He was a dick after all.
Maybe he left you his kidney.
Weirdly, as John stands at the coffin, a car speeds away from the scene. This same car is then seen stalking John while he works, and he goes over to the shocking discovery that his dad is still alive.
Hello, son.
He wants John's help getting money from a safety deposit box, and John responds, "Ha, no." Whoa, wait, hear me out. What if I was to give you half the money? There's nothing for you to lose, and this is a completely risk-free task. Well, it turns out it wasn't completely risk-free, as these investigators/goons interrogate Locke. He gets away with it, but as he gives half the money to his dad, Helen rocks up at the hotel, very displeased that A, his dad is still messing with him.
Are you him?
Listen, sweetheart.
And B, that John didn't tell her about this.
Please, I can explain.
You looked me right in the eye and you lied to me. You need his love more than mine.
No, my choice is you. Will you marry me?
So, that's goodbye Katie Segal. See you in another series. Henry's enjoying toying with people, asking why John has to play second banana to Jack.
Put him back in the armory. Why do you let him talk to you like that?
Hey, wait, shut up.
It turns out he wasn't lying about the balloon, and the grave is also where he said it was. John is left with Henry in the hatch, and they start hearing a weird broken message coming through the speakers, and they quickly realise it's a countdown.
Maybe you should get Jack.
3, 2,
I said stop!
So yeah, this place just entered lockdown. But why? Well, before we understand that, John has to get this door prized open, not something he can do alone. Henry agrees to help on the condition that John gives his word that he won't let the others harm him. Things go wrong though when John's leg gets trapped. To make matters worse, the alarm is going off to say the code needs to be entered. Henry crawls through the vent to try and get there on time, and by this point the system's going apeshit.
Henry!
Everything goes eerily still, and some weird painted symbols appear on the inside of the blast door. Eventually the blast doors come up, and instead of running away, Henry sticks around. But is he being a genuine nice guy here, or is he trying to weasel his way into John's good books?
Thank you for not leaving me. You're welcome, John.
Sawyer comes back and says, yeah, we found your balloon and the grave, but you know what else we found? A wallet on the dead body, and the body that's in the grave is the real Henry Gale.
Found that there was not a woman inside, there was a man. A man named Henry Gale.
Back on the beach, Kate and Jack see a beacon land in the jungle, and when they go to inspect, it's a food drop from the Dharma initiative.
It's all in your head, my friend.
This one is all about Hugo. He's getting close with Libby and confesses to her that he has a secret food stash. And her genius solution to this addiction is to chuck it all on the ground. I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, that's nice, isn't it? Screw the rest of your friends who might need this food.
Oh, I feel free.
Luckily for his starving friends, they find the food that was airdropped. News which doesn't sit well with Hugo's mental state. He then sees a man wearing a bathrobe and chases after him, but the mysterious man disappears.
Uh-oh.
Let's have a flashback to give some context for who this guy is. Or isn't.
You're not here!
The psych ward doctor takes a picture of Hugo and his friend, and later when the doctor asks about Hugo's friend, he gets defensive. So he suggests they take a look at the picture.
Dave isn't your friend, Hugo. Because Dave doesn't exist.
Who could have seen that coming, apart from everyone watching? There's a funny part where this imaginary friend Dave sneaks them out, and he convinces Hugo to get some food for the journey.
Yo, check it out. Marcus didn't finish his lasagna. That is a waste, man. One for the road.
What I do like about this imaginary friend is that he's portrayed as the voice that keeps Hugo eating to excess.
That crap getting inside your head, man, do not let him. You've got much more important things to think about. Like hard or soft shell, baby. Chicken or shrimp. Sour cream or hot sauce.
Dave doesn't want you to lose weight, does he?
You know, Dave cares about me.
Seeing him back in present times is understandably quite distressing, causing him to ask Sawyer if he has any medication to stop the hallucinations. I should probably mention that Sawyer being the new sheriff in town doesn't really seem to have much of an impact on anything, other than people having to come to him for pills and pregnancy tests. Dave convinces him that all of this is just in his imagination. The island, his new friends and Libby, all of it. And to prove it, he throws himself off the cliff. Hugo considers doing the same, but then Libby comes along and she gets angry at his suggestion that she's not real. I like how he says it must all be fake because she's too pretty for him.
This isn't real life.
Why would you say that?
Because in real life, no girl like you would ever like me.
And to again prove him wrong, she kisses him. Quite a powerful scene and one of my favourite Hugo moments. The episode ends on a very eerie note though, as we see Libby was in the same psych ward as Hugo. What the fuck? Last thing to mention is that Henry, or whoever this guy actually is, tries messing with John by saying that when he helped him, he never actually entered the code into the computer, completely messing with John's faith on his purpose of supposedly saving the world every time he does this.
You're a dentist.
Rose and Bernard are having a disagreement about getting comfortable on the island, where Bernard stresses that they should be doing something to get rescued.
They've given up
Given up? On what?
on getting rescued.
His idea is to build an SOS sign using rocks. He tries to take charge in recruiting people to help, but everyone still sees Jack as their leader, including Rose.
Well, do we have to run everything by Jack? I mean, he's not the president. He's a doctor.
You're a dentist.
Wow, what a bitch. Look, I like Rose, but imagine embarrassing your partner like this in front of everyone. She says that all he's doing is giving people false hope, and understandably this take annoys him. But before we get too mad at Rose, we need some context for why she's acting this way. So prior to being on the island, Bernard surprises Rose with a proposal, but instead of being overjoyed by this, she reveals that she has cancer. It's still a lovely moment because Bernard is like, I love you, Rose, and that's all that matters to me.
You haven't answered my question.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
Bernard takes her to a faith healer, which annoys Rose because she doesn't believe in this hocus pocus stuff. She's made peace with the idea of dying, but Bernard hasn't because he's a good husband. This was a waste of a trip anyway because the faith healer says he can't do anything for her. This isn't the right place for her to be healed. She decides to lie to Bernard and say that he did heal her, so he can finally quit trying to save her and simply enjoy the time they have left. Back on the island, he gets really upset that no one wants to help him, blaming Rose for mocking his attempt at leadership. And well, he's not entirely wrong, is he? There's an interesting moment where Rose says to John that his leg will heal much quicker than Jack said, and she says that because she remembers John being in a wheelchair. She then reveals to Bernard that she doesn't have cancer anymore. This island has cured her and she can feel it, and that's why she doesn't want him to build an SOS sign.
You don't want to be rescued, do you? You think if you leave, it'll come back. And if you can't leave, neither can I. We won't ever leave, Rose.
John carries on pressing the button for a while, but his faith is strained to the point where he gives up to focus on remembering the pattern from the blast door. The episode ends with Jack and Kate waiting by the dividing line that the others warned them not to cross. They call out saying they have Henry, but the others don't show up. They wait around until night time when suddenly Michael appears.
Michael.
I'm sorry.
Anna Lucia's mum is questioning her over the death of the guy she killed. Mummy knows she did it, but can't prove it. And she reminds Anna that she has a duty as a police officer. But she's like, not anymore, I don't.
You're a police officer, Anna. If you don't respect me, at least respect that.
Then I quit.
She then bumps into Jack's dad, Christian, in a bar, and he says he's been looking for an ex-cop to be his bodyguard, but it turns out he just wanted a drinking buddy. She realises that he's a sad man with a crappy past because he drunkenly pulls up outside a woman's house, raving on about this being his house and wanting to see his daughter.
Mortgage on this house, and you won't have one. I want to see my daughter.
What the hell is wrong with you? You need help!
Because everything in this show is connected, it's later revealed that Jack's long-lost half-sister is also on this island. But who is it? Maybe we have a Leia and Luke situation going on with Kate. In the hatch, Michael is awake and he tells them what happened, saying that he found their camp and they live very basically, living in tents and eating dried fish, and more importantly, they only have 2 guns. This inspires Jack to organise an army, and they need to get the guns from Sawyer. Anna Lucia offers to stay behind because she secretly wants to kill Henry. Earlier on, he tried killing her, so fair's fair. She then says to Michael that she couldn't go through with it, and he says, okay, let me do it. But this was all a trick. In a shocking twist, he shoots Anna Lucia, then shoots Libby in a knee-jerk reaction, then he shoots himself in the shoulder. Did I forget what this episode is called? Nope, it really is just titled as question mark, which is appropriate because I have many questions about this strange dream that Echo's having. Yemi tells him that he needs to ask John what the question mark means, and also that he needs to keep pressing the button, because as he says, it's the most important thing in the world. But before we dive into that, we need to talk about the hatch drama. So Michael tries to play it off as Henry escaping, but much to his horror, Libby isn't quite dead yet, which means now there's a potential witness. She manages to spit out the word Michael before she croaks. But Jack just sees this as her asking if he's okay. Poor fella, he was so close to getting a home run. Although, we've seen the kind of girls he flirts with back home. For a big fella, he's got some strong game. Back to Echo, he demands that John shows him the question mark, but John says he doesn't know where it is or even what it means. John then has a dream that tells Echo that he needs to climb up the boom cliff.
Echo! Be careful!
John's thinking, oh no, not again. But Echo makes it to the top and he's delighted to see the question mark. Turns out there's another hatch where the plane fell, and so they climb down to investigate. Inside, they find a bunch of monitors and a messenger tube. Clearly this is an observation facility, and they watch another tape to find out more.
Careful observation is the only key to true and complete awareness.
This tape reveals that the spawn station with the button is the site of a psychological test. John is very upset by this, but for some reason this information only strengthens Echo's belief, and he's going to carry on entering the code.
The reason to do it, push the button, is not because we are told to do so in a film.
Well, then what is the reason, Mr. Echo?
We do it because we believe we are meant to.
The reason his faith is so strong is because he was once called to investigate a miracle, where a girl who drowned came back to life on the autopsy table. The girl happens to be the daughter of the psychic, by the way. He tells Echo that it's no miracle, it was just a medical mistake. But then the girl finds Echo at an airport and says that she saw Yemi in a dream.
He has faith in you. One day you'll believe me.
It's my son. It's my call.
So, we learn that Michael got taken by the others, and he was given a list of people to bring back, in exchange for Walt and a boat. What he said about their living conditions was true, even though he's concealing the deal he agreed to. Jack tries to organise a group, but Michael gets frustrated that his wishes are being overlooked. The deal with the others is off if he brings anyone but the people on the list.
If you don't bring all the people on the list, you'll never see Walt again.
Of course, this confuses people why he doesn't want to bring Sayid, the only trained soldier on this island. There's really not much more to this episode, except for the alarming ending where they see a yacht approaching the island.
We're gonna find out what happens if that button doesn't get pushed.
They swim out to the yacht and discover a drunk Desmond. He says that he was trying to sail to another island, but the only island he found was this one. He now believes that the outside world has vanished, and this island is all that's left.
This is all there is left. This ocean and this place here. We are stuck in a bloody snow globe.
Saeed asks to borrow the yacht so that he can go around the island and flank the enemy, recruiting Jin and Sun to help. When they get around to the other side, they discover the square hole in the rock that Michael was telling them about.
We're here.
Michael and his list buddies head off on their journey, and there's a funny moment where this terrible looking CGI hawk swoops down at them.
That bird just say my name?
Yeah, it did. Right before it crapped gold.
Kate spots that they're being followed and whispers to Sawyer about opening fire, and they manage to clip one. At this point, Jack reveals his suspicions that Michael's working with the others, forcing Michael to reveal the truth.
I had to bring all 4 of you back when they said I'd never see my son again.
You let Henry go?
Did you kill them? And Lucia? And Libby?
Understandably, Hugo says, "Sod this, I'm going home." But then Jack says, "Hold up, I have a plan. And we all need to stick together, or die alone." Desmond gets some backstory here, but not all of it is that interesting, so I'll skim through the boring parts. He was dishonourably discharged from the army, and his girlfriend's dad picks him up, only to tell him that he wants him to separate from his daughter. Here's a bunch of money if you promise to keep away from her.
And what makes you think I would just run away?
Because you're a coward.
He takes the money and uses it to sail around the world. And as an interesting detail, he got gifted his boat from Libby. Her husband recently died, and she's sympathetic for his quest for love, or whatever. Now might be a good time to address the whole Libby in the psych ward situation. So it turns out the writers did want to flesh out her character, but Libby's actor, Cynthia Cynthia whatever, left the show due to other filming commitments, which is a real shame because it means we never get to see this twist explained, and having to rely on commentary from the showrunners.
Libby's husband died. She went crazy. She spent some time in the mental institution. She was released from the mental institution. She gave Desmond her boat. That's the story.
On his sailing adventures, Desmond stumbled across the island, where he got taken in by this man, the same man who we saw back in episode 14. His name is Kelvin. John convinces Desmond that they need to trick Echo into leaving the computer unmanned, so they can lock him out and wait for the timer to reach 0. This way they can finally get the answer on whether or not this thing is for real.
We're gonna find out what happens if that button doesn't get pushed.
I love you, baby.
Mr. Echo is setting up some dynamite to blast open the blast doors, but Desmond says, "Nay bother, wee lad. These blast doors were made to be blasted." That was terrible. Much like me trying to do a Scottish accent, he gives it a go, but ends up doing more damage to himself, and also Charlie. John explains how silly he feels, believing that it was fate that brought him down here, and that Boone died following his plan for destiny. And to see this hatch is nothing more than a button to push makes it all seem so pointless. Desmond suggests that maybe the people being tested weren't the button pushers, but the people watching the button pushers. And when he checks the code logs that John brought along from the other hatch, he realises that on the same day their plane crashed, they had an incident in the Swan, where the numbers weren't entered on time. Desmond believes that the electromagnetic spike of this incident is the thing that brought down their plane.
I think I crashed your plane.
Let's go back to when the incident happened. On that fateful day, Desmond noticed that Kelvin's hazmat suit had a tear in it, meaning he was lying about the air outside being toxic. He follows Kelvin to say, "What the hell, bro?" and accidentally cracks his head on the rocks. Jesus, how brittle is your skull? Did you have an actual egghead? Desmond rushes back to the hatch and sees the system going bananas. Back to the present, Desmond urges John to believe that it's all real. They have to enter the code. But John says, F that, we're ending this now, and smashes the computer.
You killed us all?
Desmond rushes to find a last resort key, and he needs to hurry because the magnetic field is getting intense.
I was wrong.
Desmond looks at the kill switch and thinks about Penny before making the ultimate sacrifice, knowing that turning this key is going to kill him, probably.
I love you.
I love you, Penny.
I'm not exactly sure what's happening here, and neither do the others. Oh yeah, earlier on they captured Jack and the gang, and that's why they're on this dock on their knees.
Hello again.
Michael kept up his end of the deal, and so they give him a compass heading and send him home with Walt.
I got you now. It's gonna be okay now. We're going home, Walt. We are going home.
Claire finally forgives Charlie for his rock and roll lifestyle, and the two share a kiss. I didn't much care for these characters individually, but maybe I'll like them more as a couple. The episode ends with a cut to this snowy research centre, where some Italian, maybe, scientists noticed electromagnetic activity and call Penny to let her know they found it. So maybe she's looking for Desmond. We'll see in season 3. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And a special shout out to my executive producers and middle tier Patreons. You guys have no idea how much your help keeps my channel afloat. See you all in season 3, and while you wait, why not check out my recap on The Last of Us? It's been a while since that came out, so maybe now is a good time to refresh your memory.